Napoleon Bonaparte. The name echoes through history. A man born on the island of Corsica in 1769. Far from the halls of power he would one day command. His family, minor nobility but hardly wealthy, secured him a place at military school. This education would prove to be the foundation for his meteoric rise. France was a nation in turmoil. The French Revolution erupted, tearing down the old order. Amidst the chaos, opportunity arose for ambitious individuals. Napoleon, a skilled artillery officer, quickly climbed the ranks. His tactical brilliance shone through in the siege of Toulon, securing a decisive victory for the revolutionaries. Word of Napoleon's tactical genius spread. He was given command of the army of Italy. What followed was a series of stunning victories against the Austrians. Napoleon, through sheer audacity and cunning, outmaneuvered his opponents time and again. The Italian campaign cemented his reputation as a military prodigy. France, however, remained unstable. The government, weak and divided, faced threats both internal and external. Napoleon, returning from his triumphs, saw a chance to seize control. In a bloodless coup d'état, the coup of 18 Brumaire, he overthrew the government and established himself as first consul of France. With France under his control, Napoleon turned his attention back to the battlefield. He faced enemies on all sides. Austria, Britain and Russia formed coalitions to oppose him. Napoleon, however, was undaunted. He marched his armies across Europe, winning victory after victory. The Battle of Marengo, a desperate fight against the Austrians, showcased his ability to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. At Austerlitz, he delivered one of the most crushing military defeats in history, shattering the combined might of Austria and Russia. These victories weren't just about military might. Napoleon understood the importance of logistics and administration. He reformed the French army, instilling strict discipline and meritocratic promotion. He also reorganized the French state, implementing much-needed reforms in law, education and finance. Napoleon's conquests spread his influence across the continent. He established puppet states, placed his relatives on foreign thrones, and redrew the map of Europe according to his will. He had become the most powerful man in the world. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French. It was a symbolic act, a rejection of the old order and a declaration of his absolute power. No longer content with being first consul, he sought to establish a dynasty that would rule for generations. As emperor, Napoleon continued his reforms. He implemented the Napoleonic Code, a legal system that standardized French law and is still the basis for legal codes in many countries today. He established the Bank of France, stabilizing the economy and promoting trade. Napoleon's ambition, however, knew no bounds. He sought to spread his influence beyond Europe, launching an invasion of Egypt in 1798. This campaign, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlighted his desire to control the strategic trade routes to the east. Despite his victories and reforms, Napoleon faced growing opposition. Great Britain, led by the implacable Admiral Horatio Nelson, remained a constant thorn in his side. The British Navy controlled the seas, thwarting Napoleon's plans for expansion and undermining his continental system designed to cripple the British economy. Section 4. The Russian Quagmire Seeds of Destruction Sown. In 1812, Napoleon made his most fateful decision. He launched a massive invasion of Russia, aiming to crush the Russian army and force Tsar Alexander I to submit to his will. The Grande Armée, boasting over 600,000 men, marched eastward. The Russians, however, refused to engage in a decisive battle. They retreated deeper and deeper into the vast Russian interior, employing a scorched earth policy. Napoleon's forces faced dwindling supplies, harsh weather, and constant harassment. The Battle of Borodino, though a tactical victory for Napoleon, proved to be a Pyrrhic one. Moscow, when he finally reached it, was burning. The Russians had set fire to their own city, leaving Napoleon with no choice but to retreat. The retreat from Russia was a disaster of epic proportions. The Grande Armée, decimated by hunger, disease, and the bitter Russian winter, limped back to France, a shadow of its former glory. Section 5. A fallen emperor, exile, return, and final defeat. The disaster in Russia shattered Napoleon's aura of invincibility. His enemies, sensing weakness, renewed their attacks. Austria, Prussia, and other European powers joined forces with Britain and Russia. Napoleon, facing overwhelming odds, fought on with his usual tenacity, but the tide had turned. He suffered a series of defeats, culminating in the Battle of Leipzig, the largest battle fought in Europe up to that point. Outnumbered and outmaneuvered, Napoleon was forced to abdicate in 1814. Exiled to the island of Elba, Napoleon seemed finished, but he was not done yet. In 1815, he escaped Elba and returned to France. The French people, weary of the restored monarchy, welcomed him back with open arms. Napoleon's return sparked the 100 Days' War. He rallied his supporters and marched to confront the Allied armies gathering in Belgium. At Waterloo, on June 18, 1815, Napoleon faced his final battle. The British army, under the Duke of Wellington, held firm against repeated French assaults. The arrival of Prussian forces late in the day sealed Napoleon's fate. He was defeated once and for all. Section 6. Legacy of the Emperor, Napoleon's enduring impact. Exiled again, this time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, Napoleon died in 1821 at the age of 51. His death marked the end of an era. Napoleon Bonaparte's life was a whirlwind of triumphs and tragedies. He rose from obscurity to become the most powerful man in Europe. He was a brilliant military strategist, a ruthless politician, and a complex figure who inspired both admiration and hatred. His legacy is equally complex. He left an indelible mark on France and Europe. His conquests spread the ideas of the French Revolution, toppling old regimes and inspiring nationalist movements. His legal and administrative reforms continue to influence governments today. Napoleon Bonaparte's story is a cautionary tale of ambition, genius, and ultimately hubris. He was a man who dared to reach for the stars, only to be brought low by his own ambition. But even in defeat, he remains one of the most fascinating and enigmatic figures in history.